In February of 1987, America was introduced to the Mannequin cinematic universe and its star, Hollywood Montrose.
I never thought they'd hire anyone stranger than me.
Played by Meshach Taylor from Designing Women, Hollywood Montrose is a lover, a fighter, an officer, and a gentleman.
Staff Sergeant Montrose, sir. Butch Montrose.
In both the movie Mannequin and its sequel, Mannequin on the Move, Hollywood defies the rules for sassy gay best friends. He's a flamboyant femme hero who saves the day amidst bumbling heterosexuals, while also holding down a career and a love life.
Look out, Albert, because Hollywood is on your case.
Yeah, go get it.
While besting multiple foes in combat.
Only one little gun. Honey, I am from North Philadelphia.
All of which makes Hollywood Montrose the gay 80s hero we never knew we needed. Hey, I'm Matt Baum, I make videos about pop culture, and this time we're headed to Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, for a magical romance in the windows of a department store owned by the Golden Girls' Estelle Getty.
Cram it, clown.
Haunted by Sex and the City's Kim Cattrall.
Me.
And watching over it all, one of the most unlikely queer icons in cinema history.
Hollywood, come and get me, Hollywood.
Okay, so here's the setup for the movie Mannequin. It starts where so many tales of department store mannequins begin, ancient Egypt, where a young woman named Emmy dreams of traveling the world and creating great art. Some gods hear her prayers, and she's whisked away in an animated musical montage, transported through time until she lands in the most fertile creative period in human history, 1987 Philadelphia. With me so far? Great. Next we meet Jonathan Switcher, a young mannequin sculptor who has just created his masterpiece, a mannequin that looks close enough to Kim Cattrall if you kind of squint under the right light. Unfortunately, it took him so long to make that his boss at the mannequin sculpting company fires him. Jonathan bounces around from job to job, then happens to see his masterpiece mannequin in the window of the local department store, Prince & Company. So he starts hanging around in front of the store, waiting for a sign. And then he gets one.
Oh, look out! Watch yourself, Pam! Oh, baby.
For saving the life of Claire, the department store's owner, he's given a job doing, well, anything he wants, it seems.
What do you do?
Anything!
When can you start?
As soon as I finish this.
And hey, is that Sophia from Golden Girls? Yep, it's Estelle Getty, and somehow they managed to make her look even shorter. Estelle's presence establishes a certain queer friendliness to the film. She's a longtime gay ally, playing Harvey Fierstein's mother in Torch Song Trilogy, the breakthrough play about New York gay life. And though you might be familiar with her moving speech on Golden Girls about marriage equality,
everyone wants someone to grow old with, and shouldn't everyone have that chance?
You might not know that behind the scenes, her allyship went even further. She had a firm rule for every role that she appeared in.
Is it true that there are certain things you won't let Sophia say? That's right. And I have a thing about using humor to really hurt, and I won't do gay-bashing jokes.
So anytime you see her pop up, you know you're in good hands. But things are about to get a lot gayer. Now that Jonathan's got a job at Prince & Company, he starts searching for the mannequin that he sculpted. He finds her in a window and confesses his love.
I guess all artists fall in love with their creations, but you just seem so special.
And by the way, the camera never turns around to show the street, but I have to assume passersby are just witnessing this moment. After a few seconds, Jonathan's caught by the store's chief window dresser,
Hollywood Montrose. Doesn't it just sing?
Yes, sirree, a Hollywood love.
Hollywood is a breath of fresh air after all the beige and pastels of the department store. He's colorful, he's flamboyant, and he is delighted to meet Jonathan.
I am so glad you're working here.
You are.
Why, of course I am, honey. I never thought they'd hire anyone stranger than me.
Now, at first glance, you might think, oh, great, I've seen this before. A swishy interior decorator with a limp wrist and sassy catchphrases. He'll probably serve as minor comic relief with no impact on the plot. Our main characters will make some jokes at his expense, and at most, he'll help some heterosexuals find love while being completely sexless himself. But Hollywood's not like other girls. For one thing, he's unique among movie gay best friends in that he's not a perpetually sexless single.
Albert left me that bitch.
Okay, so it starts with a breakup, but we know that Hollywood has relationships with men. Gay best friends almost never have love lives of their own, but romance is part of Hollywood's character. Jonathan's understanding, supportive even.
Just go home and get yourself some rest.
I do love a protagonist who understands the importance of bed rest. And look how comfortable Jonathan is putting his arm around Hollywood, which today doesn't seem like a big deal, but in 1987, there was a lot of misinformation about gay people and HIV. Newspapers back then ran headlines calling AIDS a gay plague. A lot of people believed that all gay men had AIDS and that you could transmit HIV just by touching a gay person. In fact, just a few months before this film came out, Princess Diana made global headlines when she visited an HIV unit at a London hospital and made a point of shaking hands and hugging the people there. She gave a speech about how you don't need to be afraid of people with HIV.
HIV does not make people dangerous to know. So you can shake their hands and give them a hug. Heaven knows they need it.
It's hard to overstate what a big deal it was for someone in her position to do this. It really helped to transform how the public understood people living with AIDS. And at a time when a lot of people wrongly thought that it wasn't safe to be in the same room as a gay person, it's meaningful to see Jonathan casually putting his arm around a gay friend. But Jonathan's treatment of his new friend isn't the only thing that sets Mannequin apart. Hollywood asks Jonathan to help him with the window displays, and before long, he bumps into the store's security guard, Felix, a character who is immediately homophobic, and not just because of these white socks.
Oh, the little Mary has an assistant now, huh?
At first, this looks like it's going to be a lispy gay joke at Hollywood's expense, but look how Jonathan responds.
So, you like your new assignment?
Could have been worse. Could have put me on with a bigoted jerk.
The dialogue's a little on the nose, but I appreciate the sentiment. Jonathan could easily have distanced himself from Hollywood here, but he didn't. Mannequin's making it clear. Bad guys are homophobes, good guys stand up for their gay friends. So now that we've established who's who, it's time for the movie to truly get weird. The next time Jonathan's alone with the mannequin that he carved...
Don't you like your new scarf?
Not especially.
Emmy, the time-traveling ancient Egyptian spirit, has chosen Jonathan to be the next artist that she inspires. But there's rules for these kinds of things. Only Jonathan can see her. If anyone else looks at her, she turns back into a mannequin again, like the Doctor Who monsters. Nope, not those. Yeah, those, but with a cuter hat. Emmy, by the way, is played by Kim Cattrall, who you probably know from Sex and the City or from her famous love of scat.
Yamakipiebo, sedere facebo, indog Latin e quoth, uge, sophistere!
Jonathan's a little surprised. I don't know why, this is a perfectly straightforward Egyptian mannequin muse situation, but when Hollywood isn't looking, he and Emmy get to work on his chosen art form, department store windows. Overnight, Jonathan creates what everyone in the movie agrees is the most beautiful window display anyone has ever seen, so breathtaking that it draws a giant crowd to the department store and wins Hollywood's applause. Now, it may seem a little far-fetched that overnight, a single window treatment could become the biggest news story in Philadelphia, but we're working on a special kind of logic here. Little Shop of Horrors logic.
Just because you put a strange and interesting plant in the window, people don't suddenly...
Excuse me. I couldn't help noticing that strange and interesting plant.
Jonathan's window treatment is the toast of the town. But not everyone at Prince & Company is a fan. One of the executives wants Jonathan punished.
What arrogance that little worm of a stock boy is creating an affront to the dignity of this store.
By the way, if his voice sounds familiar, that's because it's James Spader. That's right, Ultron.
What arrogance that little worm of a stock boy is creating an affront to the dignity of this store.
Ultron tries to get Jonathan fired, but when Hollywood finds out, he won't have it.
You just let me in there at those so-and-sos. I will straighten them out. Too sweet.
Jonathan was kind to Hollywood, and now Hollywood, who is loyal and brave, wants to return the favor. He's willing to stop at nothing to stand up for his friend.
I was hoping to avoid this, but this is an hour of desperation.
Hollywood, this is not the way to approach this, okay? Please.
You don't think so? Oh, please don't tell anyone you saw me dressed like this. I have a reputation to uphold.
But it turns out, that's not necessary. Claire loves the window and promotes Jonathan to the head of visual merchandising, which is great. It means he'll be working with Hollywood even more closely. That night, Jonathan and Emmy celebrate with a little musical montage and a private fashion show. And the looks that they pick out are honestly not bad. A little Dynasty here, a little Miami Vice there, reference to Phantom of the Opera, which debuted the year before. They really managed to capture a bunch of different vibes of the mid-'80s. And hey, is that the Misfits from Gem and the Holograms? Anyway, in the midst of their party, Hollywood catches them.
Shake that thing!
Causing Emmy to revert back to mannequin form.
Maybe I can get G.I. Joe and we can double sometime.
Now, because she's back to being a mannequin, Hollywood just assumes that Jonathan is carrying on a relationship with an actual wooden dummy. But he doesn't care.
It's obvious to this country girl that you're an #1 creative freak. Now, some people may find you strange, but not me. I respect that. Create, honey. Create!
Honestly, I think everyone should have a friend as supportive as Hollywood. He's not there to judge or condemn. Jonathan accepts him. He accepts Jonathan. Then over the next few days or weeks, Jonathan and Emmy create more stunning window displays that have all of Philadelphia talking, and Hollywood comes to him with a request.
I need your creative muse.
Hollywood's respect for Jonathan has grown, and he wants Jonathan to teach him how to create beautiful windows too. It's only fair. Hollywood was the first to put Jonathan to work in windows, and now he sees that he has lots to learn. Jonathan's a little wary at first, but with Emmy's encouragement, he gives Hollywood a shot, and sure enough, they come up with the boldest concept yet.
Okay, we need to make a list. 30 feet of black nylon cord.
Ow! Sounds like my kind of list.
Together, Jonathan and Hollywood create the most glorious window display yet.
It's the most beautiful window I've ever seen.
It's not bad, but there actually is something unique about this display. Can you spot it? Those aren't mannequins. So after Hollywood goes home, Jonathan and Emmy have sex in the middle of the department store. Why not? They've earned it. But the next morning, Hollywood wakes Jonathan up with the news that during the night, someone broke in and stole all the lady mannequins.
Yes, my dear, your favorite. She is gone too.
Hollywood does his best to console Jonathan, just like Jonathan did for him.
But you know, us special people are destined for heartache sometime.
But they're also determined to take action. Jonathan has a hunch that the mannequins were stolen by the evil rival department store Illustra, and that's all Hollywood needs to hear. They mount a rescue in Hollywood's hot pink convertible. Note the autobiographical license plate. They arrive at Illustra, and Jonathan rushes through the store, searching for Emmy, with the guards in hot pursuit. And I love how much security this store has. It's like Fort Knox. And then it's Hollywood to the rescue again. He keeps the guards at bay.
2 things I love to do. It's fight and kiss boys. Come on.
Allowing Jonathan to continue his search, and he finally spots Emmy moments away from falling into Illustra's industrial mannequin shredding machine. Now remember, at this point, Hollywood still thinks Emmy is a mannequin. He's so loyal to his friend that he's willing to put his life on the line all so his friend can recover a mannequin he really likes. There's no greater love than this, that a man would lay down his life for the sake of his friend's mannequin. So at the last possible moment, Jonathan pulls Emmy out of the shredding machine, but wait, there's more. In this moment, the gods also lift the mannequining spell, or whatever it is, so now she's just a regular woman that anyone can see. Hollywood's the first to meet her.
Mama put the coins on my eyes because I sure don't believe what I am seeing.
Then literally the entire cast of the film bursts into the room to tie up any remaining plot threads. Claire announces that her security cameras caught the Illustra employees stealing the mannequins on tape. They're all arrested, Jonathan's promoted, and don't worry, Claire's gonna overlook the fact that the cameras would also have captured him and Emmy having sex.
I only saw what I needed to see.
Now, we'll return to the thrilling conclusion of Mannequin in just a moment, but I need to take a second to consider the implications of Claire's line.
I only saw what I needed to see.
Did the cameras capture Andrew McCarthy having sex with the flesh body of human ingenue Kim Cattrall, or with her plaster simulacrum? We know that she can't be human if she's being observed by anyone else, but what of the cold mechanical eye of the Betamax? And furthermore, what of the dewy eye of the dog, which seemed to observe her in the elevator? What is it to be perceived, and whose gaze controls the soul of this ancient Egyptian muse? These questions and more will not be answered in Mannequin 2. Anyway, back to the movie. Now it's time for Jonathan and Emmy to get married in, of course, a window display. And here we have the final shot of Mannequin. I just want to point out two things here. First, throughout the entire movie, there's a red and blue color scheme, but in this final shot, the red and blue come together into purple, with Hollywood witnessing their wedding in a purple suit. All right, Mannequin art director, well played. Second, the movie's triumphant freeze frame puts Hollywood dead center in the frame, which I think is appropriate, because this really is his movie. Sure, it's Jonathan and Emmy who fall in love, but they actually did very little. It was Hollywood who was instrumental to the story. Just review the tape. Hollywood's the one who got them together.
When you're finished with your conversation, please bring her to window number 3.
It was Hollywood who suggested Jonathan help with window dressings.
Don't disappoint me.
It was Hollywood who defended Jonathan when his job was on the line.
If Jonathan is fired, Hollywood flies. Excuse me while I step out into the window ledge.
Hollywood ensured that Jonathan was reunited with Emmy in the end.
This is what being a man is all about, honey.
Multiple major plot beats in this film are thanks to Hollywood Montrose, the true hero of the story. So yes, center him in the frame. He deserves it. Now, audiences of the time had seldom seen a character like Hollywood in a mainstream film. Openly queer, highly skilled, and heroic. So, how'd he go over? Well, people loved him. He was a big hit. Even critics who hated the movie overall, which I'm sorry to say is most critics, had to admit Hollywood stole the show. Gay critics loved him too. A writer for the magazine Christopher Street called it the most unhomophobic Hollywood studio film I've ever seen. The year Mannequin came out was also a big moment for Meshack Taylor. A few months later, he made his debut on Designing Women. That was only supposed to be a one-off appearance, but he stole the show there too, so they made him a series regular. And not only did he outlast several members of the original cast, he was the first actor from the show to be nominated for an Emmy. But for many years, it was the character of Hollywood who defined him. When he traveled, he said, people would shout Hollywood's name at him. And maybe that's because Hollywood was so unique, a flamboyant gay black man, prominently featured in a major role. Only a few characters in that vein had ever appeared in TV and film, though in the years that followed, there would be a few more. For example, there were the Men on sketches on the show In Living Color, which were a lot more mean and horny.
What other game boasts such great names like Dick Buttkiss? Or my favorite, Bob Greasy. Now, isn't he a tight end? He was.
By the way, I've got a bonus video up on Patreon about the Men on sketches, including the mixed feelings that gay audiences had about them. Check that out at patreon.com/mattbaum. There were also some more authentic depictions of gay black men in the late 80s and early 90s, like in documentaries like Paris is Burning.
We're not going to be shady, just fierce.
And Tongues Untied.
Well, you've got a domestic snap, you've got a snap, then you've got Grand Diva snap.
Now, I don't think that the movie Mannequin is single-handedly responsible for making those movies possible. But Hollywood was part of a larger phenomenon, a depiction of flamboyant gay black men as confident, heroic, and fun. Audiences clearly wanted more, and they got it in 1991 when Hollywood returned to Hollywood for the sequel, Mannequin on the Move. Yes, that's right, a sequel. And who did they bring back? Well, not the leads. They were replaced by the bad Buffy, Herman from Herman's Head, and the corpse from Weekend at Bernie's. In fact, the only character they brought back was Hollywood Montrose. Well, technically, they also brought back an actor who played a background janitor at the rival department store in the first film, but it's a little unclear if he's playing the same character because this time he's a security guard at Prince & Company. I guess they did have an opening. And by the way, that actor is Andrew Hill Newman, the original Seymour from the off-Broadway Little Shop of Horrors, a show all about the importance of window displays. Coincidence? Probably. Anyway, now it's time for Mannequin on the Move. This one makes less sense than the first.
Oh, it's a typical old world tale.
The premise is that in medieval times, a peasant girl was cursed by a necklace to be a statue for 1,000 years, or until she met her true love. Over the centuries, the peasant girl became a national treasure, and then in 1991 she shipped around the world as part of a traveling exhibition.
Yeah, that's pretty typical, all right.
The first stop on the tour? A department store in Philadelphia, where Hollywood Montrose is the head of visual merchandising. He's just hired a new assistant, a shy kid named Jason, and together, Jason and Hollywood must prepare the store to welcome the enchanted peasant girl with a presentation.
Someone has got to glitz up this presentation. I'm going to breathe some light into this presentation. And he's about to ruin my presentation.
Now, obviously the idea that a traveling mannequin would be treated as some sort of visiting dignitary is completely absurd, except that that actually happened in real life. Back in the 1930s, a mannequin named Cynthia became a national celebrity, and it was all thanks to a gay man. His name was Lester Gaba, not to be confused with Victor Garber.
Garbo is coming!
Gaba sculpted Cynthia for a New York department store, and for some reason, she became the most sought-after celebrity in Manhattan. People invited her to society parties, she had a box seat at the opera, she was asked to attend the wedding of the Duke of Windsor, Cartier sent her jewels, Saks Fifth Avenue issued her a credit card, she appeared in movies, and somehow on a radio show. Here she is in one of her many appearances. It's the cover of Life magazine. Cynthia's career ended when she slipped from a chair in a beauty salon and shattered. Now, that's how I want to go. Newspapers ran obituaries for her, but her creator story was only just starting. Lester Gaba, who was referred to in one article as Daddy Lester,
Lester!
spent a lot of his life on Fire Island, dated Vincent Minnelli, and assembled Liza.
From the waist up, I feel like Dorothy, and the waist down, I feel like the Tin Man.
Lester's life is fascinating, and I'll have a bonus video about him over on Patreon in the coming weeks. Anyway, back to Mannequin. Hollywood's assistant Jason turns out to be the peasant girl's one true love who can remove the necklace and free her from her curse. So it's pretty lucky he got that job. But there's also an evil count who's trying to claim her with the help of 3 muscular hench himbos.
We are something, huh?
Just as in the first movie, Hollywood is instantly out and open about being gay.
They're so dumb. I just love that in a man.
In this rebuild of Mannequin, our gay angel is the only one who seems to be aware that all this has happened before.
This has happened before.
And there you have the whole connection to the first film. Once again, Hollywood repeatedly does all the work and saves the day. When they're shot at by the evil count, he saves Jason's life.
I learned this from the Marines.
You were in the Marines?
Yes, they were looking for a few good men, and so was I.
And later, when Jason's thrown in jail for stealing the peasant girl statue, Hollywood calls on his military training to get him out.
Run, Jason!
He even manages to help a second heterosexual in the movie's D-plot, giving a makeover to the nerdy security guard.
I think you need a visit with the Minister of Style.
And as if that wasn't enough, Meshach Taylor gets to play a dual role as a bouncer who knows Philadelphia's elite.
Oh, the crab dude.
In an interview, Meshach said that he improvised a lot of his dialogue, and you can hear him having a lot of fun in this scene.
I hate taffeta.
There's also a brief scene where Hollywood becomes a titular mannequin.
Someday.
By the way, this means that somewhere out there is a mannequin of Meshach Taylor. I tried to find out what happened to it, but turned up nothing. So if you have any leads about where it might be, please let me know. Hopefully he hasn't slid off any beauty salon chairs. Anyway, after a lot of mannequin hijinks, the whole story culminates at, where else? Hollywood's presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show is about to begin.
As if to reinforce Hollywood's importance, the climax of the film begins with an intense zoom into his face. I have not edited this clip. This is actually how it appears in the movie.
Excitement. Show business, my life.
And with that, we're into the presentation, featuring Hollywood as our MC, recapping the premise of the movie.
She dared to love the handsome prince. Is that so wrong?
Now, is that so wrong? Is that a reference to John Lovitz referencing Harvey Fierstein, who wrote the play that made Estelle Getty famous?
I just wanna be loved
because that's so wrong!
Or is it a reference to Harvey Fierstein himself in the 2012 movie Food Fight?
I just want to be loved. Is that so wrong?
These questions and more will not be answered in Mannequin 3, The Reckoning. Anyway, then they unveil the peasant girl in mannequin form from inside of a spaceship. There's been no space anything in the movie up until this point, so I have no idea why this is here, except both movies have a song by Jefferson Starship, so maybe this is Jefferson. At any rate, the evil count tries to steal the peasant girl, Jason fights him, and as always, Hollywood saves the day, this time by triggering a trap set up in the rafters. The Count escapes to the roof with the peasant girl, and Hollywood comes to the rescue twice more. First by breaking down a door.
Stand aside. Dancing strengthens the legs. Hi-ya!
And then by confronting a guard.
Only one little gun. Honey, I am from North Philadelphia.
There's a brief fight in a hot air balloon. The cursed necklace winds up on the Count, and he falls to the ground and shatters, just like Cynthia. It's a little dark, but that's what you get when you mess with the friends of Hollywood Montrose. Mannequin 2, like Mannequin 1, ends with Hollywood prominently featured in the final moments. Because once again, while it may be the heterosexuals' love story, it's really Hollywood's film. At a time when queer characters were primarily the butt of jokes at best and a source of disgust at worst, Mannequin and Mannequin 2 gave us a gay hero who's skilled and respected, who's crucial to the plot, who does all the work and saves the characters multiple times. He has relationships, a career, he's well liked, he defeats multiple villains while the heroes just kind of watch. Not only is Hollywood more fully realized than other gay best friend characters, he's more fully realized than many other movie characters, period. So thanks, Mannequin movies, and hooray for Hollywood. Big thanks to Josh Trujillo for telling me all about Cynthia the Mannequin. Check out the story The Most Beautiful Girl in the World in his comics anthology Love Machines for more about her. Now, in making this video, I dug up a bunch of fun stories about how gay audiences responded to men on film, about the life and loves of Cynthia the Mannequin, and about other flamboyant black heroes. I'm putting those into bonus videos over on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/MattBaum for those. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm late for my hang gliding lesson.